There's a specific kind of physical discomfort that accumulates so slowly you stop noticing it. The jaw that's a little tight when you wake up. The headache that isn't quite bad enough to mention, but also never quite goes away. The digestion that's been off for so long it started to feel like just how your body works now. These things have a name. And by the end of this video, that name is going to change how you read what your body has been trying to tell you, possibly for months. This isn't a medical checklist. It's something closer to a translation, because the body doesn't wait for you to recognize that something is wrong. It starts communicating long before your mind is ready to hear it. And what it's been saying, through 6 very specific, very common, almost universally misattributed signals, is the thing this video is going to name. Here's something most burnout content skips entirely. The nervous system doesn't wait for a breakdown to start responding. It responds the moment sustained demand begins to exceed sustainable recovery. Not dramatically, not in a way that interrupts your calendar. Quietly, physiologically, in the background of a life that, from the outside, looks completely fine. The reason certain physical symptoms cluster together in burnout isn't random. It comes down to one mechanism: the chronic activation of the body's stress response system. When the brain perceives sustained threat and chronic overwork, deadline pressure and performance demand register as threat. Even when no tiger is actually in the room, it releases a cascade of hormones, primarily cortisol, to keep the system ready. That response is designed to be temporary, a sprint, not a marathon. When it runs for months, sometimes years, the same hormones that were meant to save your life in an emergency begin to disrupt the systems that maintain it. Here's the counterintuitive part. Your body is not failing when this happens. It is succeeding at exactly the job it was given. It received the signal: sustained high demand, limited genuine recovery. Keep the system ready. And it responded accordingly. The symptoms you're about to recognize are not signs that something is broken. They are signs that something has been working very, very hard, and that it's time to change what it's being asked to do. Sign 1. Jaw tension, the one you notice after the fact. Not a toothache, not a medical complaint. Just a jaw that's been slightly clenched since somewhere around Tuesday. Maybe you wake up with it. Maybe you notice it at the end of a long meeting. Maybe someone mentioned it to you and you brushed it off. Jaw clenching and nighttime teeth grinding, what sleep specialists call bruxism, have a well-documented relationship with chronic stress load. The jaw is one of the primary locations where the body holds unprocessed tension when the nervous system has been running in a state of sustained alertness. It is not a dental problem. It is a nervous system signal, and the fact that it's become background noise is its own piece of information. Sign 2. The headache that lives just below the threshold of mentioning. Not a migraine. Not the kind that stops your day. The kind that settles somewhere around your temples or the base of your skull, and is simply always there, varying between a 2 and a 4, never quite gone. Tension headaches of this pattern are among the most consistent physical markers of sustained overwork. They arise from a combination of muscular tension, particularly in the neck, shoulders, and jaw, and the vascular effects of chronic cortisol elevation. The reason most people don't connect them to burnout is that they don't hurt enough to investigate. They're just there. The body's sending a low-level message on a frequency you've learned to tune out. Sign 3. Gut dysregulation that you've started calling your baseline. The stomach that's been unsettled for so long you've adjusted your eating around it. The appetite that swings between not hungry at all and eating past full without noticing. The digestion that's slower or faster or simply different from how it used to be with no clear medical explanation. The gut and the stress response system are directly connected through what researchers call the gut-brain axis, a two-way communication network between the digestive system and the central nervous system. Chronic stress disrupts gut motility, alters the gut microbiome, and can trigger or worsen IBS-adjacent symptoms in people who have no prior history of digestive issues. This is not a food sensitivity. It is not anxiety in the clinical sense. It is the body redirecting resources away from digestion, a system the brain classifies as non-essential during threat, and toward the systems it needs to keep performing. All 3 of the signs so far share the same root. The body under sustained load does not distribute its resources equally. It prioritizes, and the systems that get deprioritized, tension release, vascular regulation, digestion, are exactly the ones that show up in these first 3 signs. The next three go deeper. Sign 4. Skin changes that arrived without an obvious explanation. A breakout that doesn't follow your usual pattern. A flare of something that used to be manageable, rosacea, eczema, psoriasis, that's been less manageable lately. Or simply skin that looks more tired than it used to. Dull, less itself. Cortisol directly affects skin function, increasing inflammation, disrupting the skin barrier, and accelerating cellular breakdown. For people with existing skin conditions, sustained cortisol elevation often triggers flares. For people without them, it can produce a kind of low-grade skin instability that dermatologists frequently encounter without an obvious cause. If you've been wondering what changed, if you've been cycling through products trying to solve something that started around the same time your stress load increased, this may be the connection that's been missing. Sign 5. Hair changes that don't match anything you changed. More hair on the pillow. More in the brush. A shift in texture or density that appeared gradually and is now something you're tracking. This one has a name, telogen effluvium. It's a pattern of diffuse hair shedding triggered by significant physiological stress, including the kind produced by sustained cortisol elevation over months. The reason it's so frequently misattributed is the timing. Telogen effluvium typically appears 2 to 4 months after the stress event or pattern that triggered it. So by the time the hair changes become noticeable, the connection to a specific period of overwork is no longer obvious. This is the body sending a delayed message, not late, just traveling on a different timeline than the experience that caused it. Sign 6. Getting sick more often and taking longer to recover. The colds that used to last 3 days now last 10. The under the weather that keeps cycling back before it fully resolves. The sense that your immune system, which used to be reliable, has become something you can no longer count on. Chronic cortisol elevation is directly immunosuppressive. The immune system, like digestion, is classified by the brain as a non-essential function during active threat response. When the threat response runs continuously, as it does in sustained overwork, the immune system is systematically deprioritized. What follows is not weakness. It is physiology. The body that keeps getting sick is not a body that is failing. It is a body that has been so thoroughly committed to keeping you performing that it has run down its reserve capacity. And infections that a rested immune system would clear quickly are now taking longer because there is simply less available. 6 signs, 1 mechanism. Here's what's important about seeing them together rather than one at a time. When any one of these appears in isolation, the mind finds a local explanation. Bad sleep. Something you ate. Getting older. Needing a better skincare routine. The local explanation is always available. And it's almost always plausible. But when the jaw tension, the headache, the gut symptoms, the skin changes, the hair shedding, and the slow recovery from illness appear in the same body, in the same season of life, that is not a collection of unrelated coincidences. That is a pattern. And patterns, unlike individual symptoms, have a source. The source, in this case, is a nervous system that has been running a sustained threat response, not because something is wrong with how you're built, but because it received clear and consistent signals that high demand, limited rest, and continuous performance were the conditions of your life. It responded to those signals faithfully. It kept you going. It kept you delivering. It kept you showing up. And while it was doing all of that, it was also leaving these messages. In your jaw, in the back of your head, in your gut and your skin and your hair and your immune system, not as punishment, not as malfunction, as information. The body doesn't know how to lie. It only knows how to respond to what it's given, and then, when no one is listening, to get louder. If you've been noticing these things and quietly filing them away, telling yourself it's nothing, telling yourself you'll deal with it later, telling yourself it's probably just stress, your body has been trying to tell you something you now have language for. This isn't aging. This isn't weakness. This isn't a sign that something is medically wrong with you. This is what chronic overwork does to a nervous system. And the fact that you can now name that precisely, without catastrophizing, without self-blame, is the beginning of something. What your body has been trying to communicate, in the only language it has, is that the current load exceeds what genuine recovery has been able to offset. That's it. That's the message. Not you're broken. Not you can't handle this. Not you should have known better. Just, this is more than what the recovery has been balancing. And that is a solvable equation. If this video organized something you've been carrying without language for it, The physical picture is one layer. The fuller picture includes how far along the pattern is and what it means specifically for where you are right now. There's a 5-minute assessment in the description. No jargon, no dramatic labels, that gives you an honest read on where you actually are in this and what that means for your next step. Link is in the description and the pinned comment. Here's the thing about information. It doesn't automatically change anything, but it does change what's available to you. Before this video, the jaw tension was something to manage. The headache was something to medicate. The gut symptoms were something to troubleshoot with diet. Each symptom was its own isolated problem, which meant each one required its own isolated solution. And the list of things to fix kept getting longer. After this video, those same symptoms belong to a single pattern with a single source, which means they can be approached differently, not with a protocol, not with a 10-step recovery system, with one small shift in how you read what your body is telling you. When the jaw clenches, instead of ignoring it or telling yourself to relax, the new question is, what is the system responding to right now? Not as a demand to fix it, just as a moment of translation. Your body just sent a signal. You received it. That's it. That's the whole first step. On the question of whether these symptoms need medical attention, the answer is yes. If you haven't already, ruling out other causes with a doctor is a valid and reasonable first step. This video covers the burnout layer. Both can be true at once. Something can be physiologically connected to chronic overwork and also worth checking with someone who can examine you directly. Those two things are not in conflict. What's worth sitting with today is this. These symptoms are not random. They are not a sign of aging or weakness or a body that is giving up on you. They are a sign of a nervous system that has been doing exactly what it was designed to do, and that is now asking, in the clearest language it has, for something to change. You don't have to know what that change looks like yet. Knowing that the message is real, that it was never noise, is enough to begin with. If this opens something you want to go further with, the 5-minute assessment in the description will show you where you actually are and what that means for your specific situation. Link is in the description and in the pinned comment. Which of these 6 showed up for you? And how long had you been explaining it away as something else? Your nervous system doesn't know the difference between a tiger and a performance review. It doesn't distinguish between physical danger and a calendar that's been full for 18 months. It responds to load, to demand, to the sustained signal that high output is required and that stopping, genuinely stopping, is not yet safe. And when that signal runs long enough, it starts writing its messages elsewhere, in the places the mind forgot to monitor, in the jaw, in the back of the skull, in the gut that's been unsettled since spring, in the hair in the brush, in the cold that came back before the last one finished. These are not signs of a body that has failed you. They are signs of a body that has been faithful, that kept showing up alongside you, kept running the response, kept doing its job, while quietly, persistently, leaving notes you didn't yet have the language to read. You have the language now. That doesn't mean everything changes today. It doesn't mean you have a plan or a protocol or a clear path forward. It means the symptoms you've been managing in isolation now belong to a pattern. And patterns, unlike mysteries, can be worked with. Your nervous system doesn't know you're safe yet. It's been running a threat response for long enough that safety doesn't feel like its default state. The fact that rest doesn't feel restful, that stillness sometimes feels worse than moving, that your body seems to be working against you, that isn't a personal failure. It's a physiological pattern. And physiological patterns, unlike character flaws, can be changed slowly, imperfectly, without an audience, but changed. Your body has not been failing you. It has been faithful to what you were giving it. The question now is what you give it next. Not yet is a complete sentence. One small thing. No audience. Whenever you're ready.